thing is now I'm looking over at YouTube, and YouTube is showing all my facial blemishes. Oh, I wish YouTube had a filter like TikTok. That would be like so awesome. It would be really, really awesome. I guess I could put on some makeup, but it's too much of a hassle. Okay. And this thing, I'm supposed to know how to switch this thing on. Let me see. I'm supposed to know how to switch this thing on. I think there are buttons on it. Nope. 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 Okay. Apparently, I don't know how to work the light thing. Hold on, let me detach it. Okay, because it's getting to be evening time over here, and soon we will lose light. I hope you're having a great weekend. Okay, there we go. Why is it flashing? Well, I guess that's a mode. Oh, I see. So I can have lightning, I can have fire, I can have ambulance. That is so cool. Like ambulance. Wah, 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 wah. There was a joke someone wrote in a comment section saying people were talking about their preferences. No, what's that thing where you yeah, their pronouns. So one person said their pronoun was wee woo. Wee woo, like an ambulance. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. That's their pronoun. Oh, cop car. So this one is cop car. And you see, the funny thing is, like, you see on my hand, right here where I'm looking at it, is like showing blue and red. But when I look over there, I'm seeing like different colors. This is so cool. All I'm trying to do is just get a white light. Emergency. Paparazzi. Ooh, this is paparazzi. So if you want to make it look like people are taking your pictures, like you're somebody important. Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Tochi. I think it's fun, like, just to fault bulb, a bulb that has a fault. Oh wow. I guess you could use that for some movies. Oh, and then there's candle. It's I think these things are gadgets, just learning about gadgets is now this is supposed to be TV light, fireworks, lightning, fire, ambulance, cop car. I'm just trying to get a regular white light or whatever light that people use. Candle, party, fault, pulsing, strobe, paparazzi, emergency. I like being okay. So we'll do that and then we'll try to work it. Uh, I'm supposed. Well, there should be a way of adjusting this thing, frankly, but I'm not sure how that is done. So bear with me if it looks like the light is looking wonky. Oh, I see what it does. So what it does is simulates a TV light. You know how it like goes light sometimes and dark sometimes, depending on what's showing on the TV. That's interesting. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Tochi, aka Papa Dr. Tochi, mom of the men's and the women's. And I'm a spiritual practitioner, okay, and a healthcare administrator, amongst other things. I'm a teacher. I don't want to view more comments, TikTok. I'm just trying to understand what I'm looking at without you giving me more instructions. Um, I think this thing is distracting. I'm gonna switch it off for now. Oh wow, red light. Oh boy. I'll leave it at candlelight or something. I don't know what light that is. If you need me for your divinations, dream interpretations, spiritual practice coaching, please go to my website at drtochi.com or tochi.us. I also have my events and my courses and classes and things of that nature on my website. And just a heads up, we do have a 6-day retreat coming up on the 21st of October. We're going to deal with internal and external blockages that keep you from getting what you want, especially as a spiritual student or spiritual seeker. If you're the sort of person who does a lot of rituals, a lot of spells, a lot of prayers, a lot of invocations and things of that nature, you might want to attend this retreat. I have posted information about it on all my platforms. I'm still going to post it again. You can also send me an email at contact. My email address is contact@tochi.us, tochi.us, and we'll send you more information about the retreat. There's an early bird special, which I think is $50 cheaper than the regular admission. And then there's a VIP level. If you want divinations to go along with that, cowrie shell divinations and spiritual counseling. Because there are sometimes people attend retreats and they want to speak to a spiritual practitioner about their experiences or about what they're going through, or they want to plan how to move forward based on the information they're learning from the retreat. So that is also available. So that's the VIP level. You pay a little bit more, and you will have access to me one-on-one during the retreat. Okay. And how we have the retreat planned out, I think, is 2 hours per day for the 6 days. 2 hours per day. So you still have time to go do some other things. And it's set for the evening time for those of us who are here in North America. Okay. And the Caribbean. And also in South America is going to be in the evening time, which is going to be in the night for those of you who are in Europe and Africa, and also for those in the Middle East. And the kind of work that we're going to be doing during the retreat is going to be fantastic for nighttime, because you want to have a quiet environment. So hopefully, if you're attending this retreat, you're not trying to do it at work. Okay. It's going to be intense. You're going to have to do some work. So the retreat is not you laying back in your bed, in your soft bed with soft pillows, drinking a pina colada or whiskey on the rocks, and me just talking all the while. No, there's going to be some work. You're going to do some work. Okay. Because the point is that by the end of the 6 days, you should be able to start solving your problems. Okay. You should be able to start figuring out why your spiritual works are not working. At the end of the 6 days, you should be able to figure out how to do some basic things to fix your rituals, your spells, your invocations, your prayers, whatever it is that you're doing in a spiritual and psychic sense to help your life. You should be able to look and say, okay, this is working, this is not working, and this is the reason why it is not working. So it's going to be a workshop. That's what it's going to be. Okay. So be prepared. If you're coming, be prepared to do some work. So that will start October the 21st, which is a couple of weeks from now. You can send me an email, or you can shoot me a DM. I'm not very good at catching up on my DMs. I will let you know now, because I try my best. So, and I have access to my DMs. My sales team does not have access to my DMs. They have access to my emails, but not to my DMs. So So that's why I say to people, if you really need to get a hold of me in a hurry, send me an email. If I don't see it, my sales team will see the email. So today we're going to talk about deconstructing a certain type of Jesus egregore called the martyr egregore. Okay, the martyr. So it's the Jesus egregore of martyrdom. And what is a martyr? A martyr is somebody who willingly, oftentimes willingly, are giving themselves up for their cause. And when they give themselves up, they are often exited out of this planet. And they're willing to do that because they firmly believe in what they believe in. And that's why they're called martyrs. Martyr. Okay, Martyr. And so we have a lot of martyrs in religions, especially new religions. Okay, when a new religion is being set up, oftentimes it will have martyrs because the martyrs are often the early adopters of a certain kind of religion. So when you have a new religion, you have some people who sign on to it, they believe it, with their whole mind, and they're like, this is how I want to live. I don't care what anybody thinks, and I'm ready to put my life on the line so that this religion or this new way of life or this belief that I have will move forward. And where the rest of us are like, no, I'll say whatever you want me to say. I'll believe whatever you want to believe. Just don't do nothing to me. Don't hurt me. These people are like, I don't care. Do what you think you have to do, but I am going to stand by my beliefs. And I don't even care if you're saying you're going to exit me to the next world. I don't care if you're saying you're going to exit me out of this world. I said what I said. I believe what I believe. And that's what it's going to be. That's a martyr. You will also find martyrs in relationships. There are some people that you will say to them, uh, darling, this relationship is not for you. And they're like, no, I believe in love. I am a child of love. Okay. I'm gonna set up this light. This strobe light I have over here is distracting. I swear. Because I'm not sure how it works. It's like flashing every which way. And I think it should be able to increase and decrease, but it's like doing this thing. So if not, I'm just going to use my regular light here. All right. There are some people who are martyrs in relationships. Okay. And they may be experiencing some DV, or they are experiencing infidelity in the relationship. And they're like, no, love conquers all. And you might say to them, but this thing is costing you your life. And they're like, I don't care. Love wins in the end. And then you might say to them, well, remember Romeo and Juliet? They didn't make it out alive. And they're like, but they're in a better place forever, hands holding forever together. Those are martyrs. And unfortunately, you have a lot of women who are relationship martyrs. And they're like, I'm going to keep holding it down. I want my man to know that I'm the sort of woman who can hold it down no matter what happens. And when he sees that I can hold it down, he will know my value as a woman. So it doesn't matter if he comes with a little ice and puts the ice to my head. I will show him that I am loyal. I'm a ride or die. It doesn't matter if, I catch an STD. Men will be men, boys will be boys. He's my man forever together. Those are martyrs. There are other kinds of martyrs for their children. The long suffering mother. Not so much the men, I think. There are some men who are like that, but it's more the mothers. And that child is literally and figuratively sucking the life force out of her. And she's like, no, my child comes first. And the child is putting some ice to her head. And she's like, my child doesn't know what she's doing. Or he doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm going to be on my knees and keep on praying that he will see the light, that the Lord will change her heart and turn her mind around. And they will cast themselves in the image of a praying mother. And meanwhile, their child is wilding. And their child is wilding in their 20s. The child is wilding in their 30s. The child is wilding in their 40s. The child is still wilding in their 50s and 60s. And believe it or not, I've had an 80-something-year-old woman come to me to do a divination for her child. And she said, can I do a divination for my child? And I said, yes, you can. You brought that child into the world. You have spiritual authority to do a divination on them. What would you like to know? How old is this child? And she said, well, my baby is 63. And as at the time she came to me for this divination, I wasn't even 63. And she was calling this grown man of 63 her baby, her child. And to many mothers, their child will always be their child, even though the child will have gray hair everywhere, still their child. And you'll see that mother is still on her knees for that 63-year-old child, is still starving for her 63-year-old child, is still doing without for her 63-year-old child, is still paying bills for the 63-year-old child, is paying bail, posting bail to get the child out of jail, going to court. Okay, putting together a care package for that 63-year-old child. Those are martyrs. Those kinds of mothers are martyrs. There is nothing you will tell that woman that will make her see sense or see it your way regarding that child, or that person she calls her child. She'll be like, no, he needs me. He can't make it without me. There was a lady that some years ago that came to me to do a divination for her son. Her son was in his late 40s, and he had multiple children from multiple women. And when I say multiple, I mean multiple. It was more than 3. And then he was living with another woman. And the mother was hoping that the woman he was living with, who was single with no kids, was going to take him on, marry him, house him, care for him. And when I was talking to her about her son, she said, "Oh, I said, does he have any children?" And oh yeah, but those women deceived him. The women come and take advantage of him, and he trusts women. He is so trusting. So your son is so trusting and has 6 children out there by different women. He's every woman he comes across, he trusts them. I think that's a problem, ma'am. That's a problem. But then that's a martyr. Okay. In religious, then let's come to the egregore part. In religious organizations, there are some that will work the martyr egregore. Remember what an egregore is. If you don't remember what an egregore is, I encourage you to go watch my videos on egregores, okay, to understand what an egregore is and how they're put together. Okay. Sometimes people will call them spiritual entities. Technically speaking, they're not spiritual, though they will behave like spiritual entities. They're just sentient pockets of consciousness. Okay. Thank you for the live, Tracy Evolving. And there are some religions that work with the martyr egregore. They need martyr egregores to help build the religion, especially when the religion is starting out, or when they need the religion to start spreading into new areas. Okay. They need people who are ready to lay their life on the line to ensure that that religion gets to its final destination or to its final audience. Okay. Some of you might be aware of the story some years ago of a young Asian American person who went to a forbidden island in India. Now, this island has people living on there, tribal people living there who are untouched, relatively untouched by current civilization. That island is densely forested. The folks on that island still run around naked. They use, thank you very much, Ms. Zurapenda, Sentinel Island in India. And the government of India, because, anytime folks try to go to that island, the tribesmen will try to take the person down with bows and arrows. They will shoot the bows and arrows. And they will take you out because they're not interested in contact with you. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to have anything to do with you. They want nothing to do with outsiders. And that island has beautiful beaches. Okay. There are fishermen, okay, who fish in the waters around there, but they know how close they can get to that island without getting shot at by the tribal people. Okay. Now, this Sentinel Island and its inhabitants have proven to be an attractive target for proselytizing Christians. They love the challenge. Oh, I will be the first one to go there and convert them to Christianity. I will be the first one to lead them to Jesus. I will be the first one to lead them to Christ. And you will have people from time to time go to India and bribe the fishermen to take them to this island. Okay? Because they have this desire to be the one, to be known as the one who finally went to Sentinel Island and converted the heathens, the pagans, the sinners to Christ. Okay? It's an attractive target. And so you find out that a lot of people who are attached to the Jesus egregore of martyrdom find those kinds of places attractive, because the egregore, the job of the egregore in these people's lives is to get them to martyr themselves. They need to make a martyr out of themselves. And that's what feeds that egregore. You need to understand something about martyrdom, okay? It's an intense, possessive feeling. The person becomes obsessed with it. I'm giving up, I'm making the ultimate sacrifice for this thing that I believe in. And somebody might say, well, how about our military? Or would you say that, they might be that they are feeding the martyrdom egregore? Some of them are. Not all. There are many who go to the military just because they need to make a living. There are some who join the military for the military benefits. There are some who are going there for, egotistic reasons. I want folks to know that I'm a military person, and all the power and control that goes with that. There are some people who join the military because of a martyrdom, the opportunity to martyr themselves for a belief. And this belief is that if I lay my life on the line and if I am exited out of here, I will be remembered in history. I will be praised. I'll be remembered. I'll be glorified for what I did. And people are going to talk about me, and my name is going to live forever. And stories about me will be told. And the same way that I am here now alive, reading about or listening or watching to the stories of the greats, is the same way that my story is going to be told. People are going to praise me. They're going to worship me. They're going to venerate me. They're going to hold me in high esteem. Hello, Goddess of Light. So this is what's going through the martyr's mind. I am going to be like uh, Stephen of the Bible. Everybody knows that Stephen was martyred for Christ. And anytime you read that section of the Bible, you always hear about Stephen. And everybody talks about what a glorious life and glorious exit, and I'm going to be with the great ones on the other side. So there are all these thoughts or similar thoughts that go through the head of a person who is attached to um, a martyr, a martyr egregore. And the egregore influences that person to keep seeking opportunities for martyrdom. So now, coming back to this Sentinel Island, you can now understand why that's a very attractive target for people who are proselytizing Christianity. If I can be known in history as a person who went there and used love and compassion and a pure spirit, and I tamed the heathens, and all of them came to Christ, my name will never be forgotten. And so they go. Because in their mind, they believe that even if these tribesmen take them out, they're being taken out for a good purpose, that their names will not be forgotten. And so here we have this Asian American young man who decided that even though other people had gone to Sentinel Island and failed, he was going to be the one who would go there and succeed. So he read up on it and studied it and talked to people about it, and some people discouraged him and some people encouraged him, and some people told him that he would have a great reward waiting for him in heaven if he went to Sentinel Island to convert the hostile tribesmen. They told him that, Jesus would have a mansion waiting for him with all kinds of gold and silver, and he would be living in glory if he could find his way to India and get to that Sentinel Island. So, my understanding is that he did the research and he went to India and spent time in India talking to the fishermen, talking to the locals, and getting information from them, what information he could get from them about the tribesmen and women of Sentinel Island. And everybody was like, it's not a good idea. And he's like, well, I could give them some of the food we eat. I'm sure if they start eating our kind of food, they will love it. And I got some clothes for them so they don't have to be running around naked and, with their little ding-a-ling-a-lings dinging and linging as they ran along. Jesus does not want them to be running and ding-a-linging while they're running and ding-a-linging, ding-a-linging, you know. And so in his mind, he had this idea of how it was going to be. And he told his friends and family, I am ready to lay down my life for this. If I have to go, I am going to go in blazing glory. And I will be remembered for doing the work. And I'll be known as a martyr of Christ. And, it's all for a good cause. And even the New Testament says that if anyone should lose your life for my sake, you will gain it 100-fold. Ms. Zurapenda says presumptuousness. With a healthy dose of entitlement, self-entitlement. So he went the first time and kind of got to meet people and know who was who and who the fishermen were, and kind of came close to the place and observed to see. And I don't remember if he saw tribesmen the first time he went there, or maybe he saw them in passing and they didn't say nothing to him, because when fishermen go around that Sentinel Island, they have a certain distance that they stay away from that island, because if the tribesmen there shoot their bows and shoot their arrows, apparently they're very good with these arrows, and so they can hit you from a far distance. Matter of fact, the Indian government was saying that even when they send the Indian military there with helicopters, the tribesmen will shoot the helicopters with their arrows, and they will hit folks up in there. And those are not just ordinary arrows; those are poison tip arrows. So they're not shooting those arrows just to scare you. They're trying to take you out. They're poison tipped. And so if you're up in a helicopter, they're so good at what they do is that they could pull this thing and shoot that arrow. And if that arrow gets through the door of that helicopter and hits somebody, that's it. It's good night. And these are the kind of people that this young man said he was going to go and he was going to set foot on the island and he was going to talk to them in the name of Jesus. And because at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow. And so on his second trip out, because he did the first one was more like a recon. So he goes the second time prepared with cans of food and clothing that he was going to use to clothe them and cover up their nakedness. He found a fisherman to bribe to take him out there. And as he's going, he's texting, I'm so excited. I'm doing this for the Lord. This is going to end in glory. And all those religious platitudes. And I guess the fisherman took him to a deserted portion of Sentinel Island and let him off there. The fisherman was like, I'm not going to stay here with you. So fisherman just let him off and said, smell you later. Took off. That was the last of that young man. I don't even think they retrieved his body. Or they did retrieve his body. But he was taken out in glory. He went to glory for sure. And then, of course, the Indian government started investigating, started tracking. Okay, he had a local SIM card, and who took him out, and who did he bribe, and who did he talk to, and the fishermen that took him out there got in trouble because they were breaking the law. Do not make contact with these people. Oh no, I know better. That is the martyrdom egregore. In this particular case is a type of Jesus egregore of martyrdom. And there are still people today who tap into that. You will see them saying, oh, I am going to go to this predominantly Muslim city and I don't care that they're all Muslims. I don't care that they're living peacefully here. It is my mandate to convert everybody to Christianity. And if I go out in glory doing it, Jesus will receive me. And they deliberately look for places of danger. They will not go to a regular church or regular neighborhood and say, I am out here to convert folks. They will not do that. What they're going to do is they will go to a place where their chances of being made a martyr are very high. The function of this type of Jesus egregore, again, is to influence people to propagate this religion at all costs. So it doesn't matter if they lose life or limb, they will persist. They're like a virus. You see, or should we say that this type of Jesus egregore that they have is like a virus? Remember, they were talking about this virus. There's this interesting virus that cats have. No, is it cats? I think it's a cat virus. Okay, I read about this a long time ago. All right. And this virus resides in the, I'm trying to remember how this works. It's a virus that cats have. And then they transmit this virus to their owners. Is that how that works? Well, there's this virus that cats have, and they can transmit it to their owners, okay? And the owners, that's the human owners, can become hosts of this virus. But that virus is actually targeted at mice and rats. Okay. And what happens is that if that virus gets into a mouse, it messes up their brain to the point where the mouse is no longer afraid of the cat. And so the mouse will suppress the natural instinct of the mouse to hide and sneak around from the cat. It will make the mouse bold. Okay. And the mouse will see the cat and go and present itself to the cat. And then the cat will kill the mouse and eat it. And the virus, I think, it primarily resides in the head or the brain of the cat. And then the virus will then transfer itself to the cat. And so you have the strange circle of this virus. And that's how that virus manages to survive. It needs to have a cat. So in order to have the cat, it has to make a martyr out of the mouse. So the mouse will sacrifice itself to the cat. And so you could be looking at this mouse, and you know that mice tend to sneak around. They don't come out during the daytime and prance around, but you'd be looking at this mouse, and the mouse is coming out and it's hanging around and it doesn't care that a cat is there. It's because it has this viral infection. Let me do a quick search and find out the name of it. Okay, it's even here. People have been looking it up. It's you can see it under virus that makes mice not afraid of cats, virus that makes mice attracted to cats, virus that makes mice like cats. Okay. Virus that makes mouse go crazy. So let's look at the first one. Okay, here it is. Toxoplasma gondii exerts a strange sort of mind control on rodents. Once infected with the brain parasite, they seem to lose their fear of cats and become more likely to get eaten. When they are, the microbe can make its way into the feline intestine to reproduce. The parasite makes mice lose fear of cats permanently. And that parasite, so it's not a virus, correction, is it's a parasite. So it's called the Toxoplasma gondii. Okay. And here they're saying, um, this is interesting. Okay. Oh, I thought I saw like an abstract. Where's the abstract? Okay. They kind of hit. I was looking at the abstract and then someone wrote a paper on it. Well, someone is writing here in their paper, on an NIH paper. In mice and rats, latent toxoplasma infection converted the aversion to feline odors into attraction. So the odor of a cat that would put mice and rats on guard, saying, hey, there's a cat here, suddenly becomes attractive. And such loss of fear is remarkably specific. Okay. So it makes the mice go crazy. And so the mice become de facto martyrs on behalf of this parasite that is living in their brains. Okay. And so I think that's a fair analogy to use for how this martyrdom egregore works with people. So it embeds itself in the psyche of the person, and the person loses um, their self preservation instinct when it comes to their religion, especially Christianity. Because when we look at this parasite with this parasite that influences rodents, okay, remember it makes the rodent fearless of cats. It doesn't affect their relationship with dogs. It doesn't affect their relationship with snakes. So they would still run away from a dog. They would still run away from a snake. They would still run away from human beings and other predators. The only predator they're not going to run away from is a cat. And a cat is one of their biggest predators. But because of the presence of this parasite in their brain, they will not run away from a cat. But the parasite doesn't doesn't influence them to stay when there's a dog or a human being or a snake or some other predator that could kill it. Only the thing only becomes active for cats. So it smells a cat, the feline odor, and under normal circumstances, when they smell that odor, they're supposed to run away. They're like, oh my God, there's a cat here. But the parasite scrambles their brain so that when they smell the odor of a cat, they find it very highly attractive. And they're like, let me go look for this cat. And that's how it is with this martyrdom egregore, this type of Jesus egregore that is attached to or tasked with martyrdom. This person who is possessed or entangled or influenced by this kind of Jesus egregore will not put themselves out for Islam. They will not put themselves out for a Jewish cause. They're not going to put themselves out for a Hindu cause. They're not going to put themselves out for any other cause. They're not going to put themselves out for political causes. Even if you talk about abused children, abused women, DV, they're not going to put themselves out. But once they hear, oh, here's an opportunity to spread the gospel of Jesus, and you might get taken out in the process of trying to deliver this message. It's like they're like that rat. They lose all fear, and they're like, that's where I want to go. And there were lots of people like that in medieval times. When you talk about people who fought crusades, they would go to other people's lands and fight them with the sword. and say, you know what, you must become a Christian. This is it, there's nothing else. And if someone came to fight them and the person says, I want you to recant, I want you to say, I am no longer a Christian, the person is like, no. And you could put that sword to their throat and they'll be like, nope, I'm going to stick with this. And unfortunately, we still have incidents of these in poor and developing nations and poor and developing regions in developed nations. So if you go to certain rural areas in the United States and Canada, you have people here in United States and Canada who are just looking for the opportunity. Can I put together some transport money to take me to this place I've heard about? Oh, okay, there's this place in Africa where there's a whole bunch of Muslim people. I'm going to go there, and it is my job, and I don't care what they do to me. I am going to go there and make everybody a Christian. Saudi Arabia is the only country that does not have a church. And these kinds of people would love to go to Saudi Arabia to go establish a church there. They would love it. And even if the government of Saudi Arabia says, here is the penalty, if you insist on coming here to start a church, we're going to take you out. They'll say, fantastic, sign me up. And there are other countries that have their predominant religion. I'm not just saying it's Islam, but I'm using Islam as an example because, you know, Islam has billions of followers who strongly believe in what they strongly believe. Okay. And so they will, you know, they'll go wherever. Oh, I hear the folks in China don't believe in Jesus. Okay, that's where I'm going to go. And they're the ones who will be publishing newspapers and social media accounts. Oh, we're being persecuted. We're being persecuted for the faith. Oh, we went over there to preach the word to them and they persecuted us. But we're going to persevere because that's what we do. We're called to a higher calling. And so, in their mind, it is justified that they can go and force other people to believe what they believe. Because in their mind, it is justified. In their mind, they are justified. And they're willing to pay any price to advance their cause. One of the most difficult egregores to detangle from is this kind of egregore. Because if a person already has it in their mind that they're ready to lay their life on the line for this, it is very difficult to convince the person otherwise. And someone asked a question 2 nights ago, hey, can I do a ritual to get someone to disentangle from a Jesus egregore? And my answer to that person is not that I know of. There's no ritual you can do. The person has to decide that they want to disentangle from this thing. It's just like someone who has an addiction. You can take them and sign them up for all kinds of rehab that you want until that person decides that they're no longer going to do drugs. They will keep going back to it until they decide, until they make that decision, I've had enough and I don't want to do this anymore. That is similar to an egregore. And so if someone is entangled with a Jesus egregore of martyrdom, or any religion that has an egregore of martyrdom, and you start forcing the person will say, aha, this is precisely what I was born for. This is precisely the experience I should be having. And the more you pressurize that person to leave, the more they will stay, because in their mind, they're like, yes, I'm going to be a martyr for the cause. The reason why you're oppressing me, because you telling them to leave and you trying to show them that what they're involved in is not good for them, they see that as oppression. They start interpreting that as oppression. When you say no to them, they interpret that as oppression. Okay, here comes the Google test. I have to do the Google test. It's so crazy. Google will say we have detected inactivity. We're not seeing anyone in the screen. Do this puzzle. That's so bizarre. Okay. So you find out that if a person is working with this or is entangled with an egregore of martyrdom, okay, if you try to convince them or pressurize them to leave that religion, they will become more entrenched, because they will interpret what you're saying, what you're doing, as martyrdom, as oppression. Oh, yes, you're oppressing me. You're trying to suppress me. You are uncomfortable with this message that I'm preaching, and therefore your discomfort is my motivation. I'm going to do more of this. That's what they're going to do. I'm going to do more, more, and more. And God forbid you should shout at them. They will say, oh, yeah, this is proof of oppression. And they will let everybody know. Because someone who is working with an egregore of martyrdom is not going to do it in private. They're not going to do it in private. Everybody has to know. They will announce it from the rooftops. Oh, I'm being oppressed. They will make videos and put it on social media. I'm being oppressed. They will go to press conferences. They will go to church meetings. They will go to conferences. They will go to retreats. They will go to all kinds of things just to let people know, oh, I'm being oppressed. I was at home and I was in the spirit, and the Lord was speaking to me in spirit. And my mother came and knocked at my door and said I needed to stop, that I was being obsessed with the church. And I recognized it for what it was. It was the spirit of the evil one coming against me. And I remembered in that moment when Jesus said, they will hate you for my sake. And so I accepted the challenge. So you see how that got reframed. And maybe you as a mother or you as the father, you are trying to go to get them to go do their laundry or clean up their room or come and help with the house chores. And they interpret that to be, oh, you were coming against them and hating on them because of Jesus. And Jesus said, if anyone hates you for my sake, you're going to go to heaven. No, child, I need you to go and wash the dishes. That's not how they're interpreting it, but that's not what they're hearing. So, an egregore of martyrdom, just like the Jesus egregore of martyrdom, is a very difficult one to deal with, because Every little thing you say to the person in their mind is looking for a way to reframe this as an oppression. Unless you're explicitly saying, yes, I agree with you. If you disagree with the person in any way, shape, or form, you are oppressing them. That's their thing. You're either agreeing with them or you're oppressing them. And that's why you do not want to get involved in a religious argument with these people. Because, or even any kind of argument, because they will quickly turn it around into oppression. You could be, can you go do the chores? It is your turn to wash the dishes. Oh, but I'm about to go to Bible study. I understand that, but today is your day to do the chores, and your chore is to wash the dishes. Can't the plates wait? In the kingdom of God, there will be no plates. Well, until we are in the kingdom of God, we're in the kingdom of earth, and those plates need to be washed. And they will say, you see, do you remember? And then they will tell you the story of Mary and Martha. That Martha wanted to sit at the feet of Jesus and listen to stories. And Martha came to complain to Jesus, Jesus, why don't you send Mary away and tell her to come and help us with the cooking and cleaning? And she's not doing anything. She's just sitting there and listening. And Jesus said, she has chosen the greater task to sit here and listen. And now you're telling me to go do the dishes when I'm telling you I need to go spread the word, or I need to go listen to the word, engage in the word. You are Martha and I'm Mary. And the conversation starts getting ugly. And then the person starts wallowing in this martyrdom. And the egregore says to them, keep it on. You are right. And there are some times when this martyrdom, this egregore of martyrdom, can be mixed with some mental health issues. Let's not forget that. So you could have a case where the person is bipolar. They feel good sometime, and some other times they don't feel so good. Their moods swing. And then they start saying, okay, anytime I feel good is when I'm doing the work of the Lord. Or maybe they have schizophrenia. They're hearing things and seeing things. And the egregore will advantage itself of that person's health situation and be manifesting to the person. And depending on how that person's mental health situation is, you could have a situation where the person is actually seeing Jesus. And so you're telling the person, can you go do the dishes? And they're saying, well, Jesus said I shouldn't. I need you to do the dishes. Jesus said, I should tell you, get thee behind me, Satan. So you see now that you're dealing with multiple realities, and it's actually the egregore manifesting or interacting with the person through an apparition of Jesus. And I've already treated this in a different class. Jesus egregore and the apparitions, Jesus egregores versus Jesus apparitions. How does that work? And you can find that on my YouTube channel. It's one of my free classes on YouTube channel. How is it that some people who are interacting with Jesus egregores are actually seeing Jesus? Some egregores are that powerful that they will start manifesting not just in the person's dreams, but will manifest during their waking hours, will manifest to them as visions and dreams and trances and hallucinations. And if it is a particularly well constructed egregore, it can appear to the person like a real human being that they can touch and feel and smell and see. Remember that egregores are not put together by just ordinary people. Egregores are put together by people who are masters in the occult, people who are masters in metaphysics, people who understand the rules for putting these things together. And it doesn't happen overnight. And so, if you have a Jesus egregore of martyrdom and several people are entangled with it, and it's influencing a whole bunch of people, it's being fed by the emotions of these people. Because they can sit there and say, oh, we're praying to Jesus, and they're screaming and yelling and carrying on and crying and fasting, or they're in ecstasy, they're jumping, they're dancing, they're singing, and all that emotional energy is feeding that egregore. But the ultimate feast for that egregore is when that person is martyred. That's the ultimate feast. And so when that egregore is created, it is told, if you can get this person to martyr themselves, you will be rewarded with their life force during that process of martyrdom. That is your reward, and that is your energy source. So it only makes sense. You can see that now the egregore is motivated to get the person to martyr themselves, because if the person martyrs themselves, then that egregore gets fed. It can now feed off that person's life energy as the life energy is exiting that person's body. Okay. All right. So it is fascinating. It is sad, but it is fascinating. It is sad, but it's fascinating. And so, we it that's why sometimes is the you might have a loved one who's involved with this kind of egregore, and you don't know what to do, because especially if it's entangled with mental health issues, and you don't know what to do. You really don't know what to do. You don't even know how to start tackling. Do I start tackling it with medication? Suppose the person says, no, I'm okay, I don't need medication. Then what do you do? Okay, or maybe the person is taking medication, but they're still entangled with the egregore. And they say to you, my faith is what is helping me pull through. This is my Christian faith that is helping me pull through. And it becomes difficult to tell the person, well, this faith that you have is eating you alive. Because again, you have majority of the people around you believe in this faith, but they don't realize that there's an egregore at play. And so how do you try to explain to people, oh yeah, we all believe in Jesus, but this here person is actually not believing in Jesus. They're believing in a Jesus egregore of martyrdom. And people are like, say what? Say who? Are you crazy? What the hell? What the hell? And folks start getting confused. Okay. So I did have an advanced class today. If you're an advanced member, I will encourage you to go to Patreon and watch the advanced video. We touched on this topic a little bit more in depth. Okay. And we had some specific examples that we discussed that, we can't put out on these public platforms because of censorship We can't say everything on these platforms. So if you're an advanced member, you can go to Patreon. I will be posting that video, but it had to be recorded. So it's recorded, it's finished processing it. So I should be posting it tonight or no later than tomorrow morning. Okay. You can watch that. Okay. Where we talked about ways to disentangle yourself from egregores. And the retreat that I'll be running from October the 21st, that's what we're going to be doing in the retreat. Disentangling ourselves from egregores. And it's not going to be, okay, now I'm going to disentangle myself from the Jesus egregore of this and the Jesus egregore of that and the Jesus, because there are millions of egregores out there, millions of egregores. So we're going to be looking at actually practicing. So it's not just having a discussion. That's why I said that the retreat is going to be a hands-on workshop. We're going to be disentangling and breaking free of egregores and hexes and curses and things of that nature, and internal blocks. Because sometimes we are the own curses in our own lives. Sometimes we're the evil witchcraft in our own lives. We're good at pointing fingers at other people saying, oh, it's this other person. But in reality, we're the witches of our own lives. And I'm not talking about a good witch. But we think it's someone else and we're pointing. How do you know that you're the evil witch of your own life? That's why when you are laying curses, you have to be very careful. If you're doing back to sender rituals, you have to be very careful. You can't be saying, oh, I know that Ms. Zuripenda sent something my way, so I'm doing back to sender back to Ms. Zuripenda. Suppose Ms. Zuripenda didn't send anything your way, then what happens? What's going to happen to that thing you sent out? Because you sent that thing out, it gets to Ms. Zuripenda, her spiritual crew is going to say, nope, wrong address. We're not involved in this. Send back the back to sender. And it might not be pretty depending on what you sent. So how do we recognize these things and handle them? That's what we're going to be dealing with during this retreat. So I've put out the information on all my platforms. If you need cowrie shell divinations and spiritual counseling in addition to the regular conference, you can get the VIP, sign up for the VIP level, and then you'll get extra cowrie shell divination, spiritual counseling, customized rituals, and things of that nature. You get extras. But if you just want the basics, sign up for the basics. You can send me an email, contact@tochi.us, if you need more information and want to know how to sign up. You can also go to my website, it's posted on my website. Go to the events page. And I also posted it on all platforms. But I'm also going to post some more on the platforms because I realized that not everybody sees things the first time. But it's also on YouTube. I believe it's on my community page on YouTube. So if you go on my community page, I posted it there. Not everything is somebody's attacking you. Not everything is somebody's doing this against me. Somebody's doing that against me. Somebody did this to me. Not all things are that. Okay. Sometimes it's something that is part of your incarnation. Let's say you're part of a certain lineage and you have this egregore attached to your lineage. What do you do? Because no matter what you do, This egregore is sucking the life force out of you. Now, remember that there's some good ones, but if you don't have a good one, and you are born into a certain lineage and this thing is sucking, because that's what it's tasked to do. It needs to feed. So what do you do? See what I'm saying? So I can take one or two questions about today's topic, and then we'll close class. If you've learned anything from tonight's class, let's have your oh yeah in the comment section. Have you learned anything? Did you gain any insights? Let's have your oh yeah in the comment section. And thank you, Isan101, for all the likes. My goodness. I think I was at 6,000 likes when you came on. Now I'm at 10,000 likes. Thank you so much. Much love to you. All right. Thank you, Peekaboo. Thank you, Zurpenda. Anyone else learned anything tonight? Or maybe in your neck of the woods this morning? You're welcome. Okay. It looks like only 2 people on YouTube enjoyed it. Oh well. I know there's a delay. Okay. Remember to like and share the video so that more people will know what we're talking about, what we're discussing, and they can join the conversation. All right. Remember again, my website is drtochi.com, tochi.us, and you can book me for your divinations, your consultations, spiritual counseling, spiritual practice, coaching, and more. All right. There's no reason for you to be going through life without spiritual guidance. No reason. Thank goodness for the internet. Those of us who were born before the internet and had a life before internet, we know how difficult it was to get information that we needed. I remember back then we would order books. It's not like now you can go on your smartphone and look up information. Back in the day, you had to order books and then you had to wait for a couple of months for that book to come to you, depending on where that book was. You have to wait for it to get shipped to you. And then you would read that book. Yes, the library was a nice trip. Okay. And you would read that book from cover to cover. You would study the book. Okay. And I have some real, and I think there was a touching base I did last year or 2 years ago, where I shared some of my old books, my old metaphysical books, occult books and things of that nature that I had from years ago. And we would study this thing from cover to cover, and you would ponder over the meaning of the things written in those books. You'd be reading something and you'd be like, do they mean this or do they mean that? And then yeah, have esoteric books of metaphysics, and the books of the occult. you know and then you would have friends and associates, and you're a member of this group or that group, and you people get together from time to time, and you'd be debating, what do they mean, this or do they mean that? Have you tried this? Does it work? And then people will be discussing principles. Okay, yeah, okay, do it this way, and then do it at this time. And remember, back then we used to calculate planetary hours by hand. So if you wanted to do certain rituals or certain metaphysical experiments, and they will tell you, do it on the day of this at the hour of that, and you'll be there calculating everything. And then you'd have to figure out, will I have enough privacy? Because back then, you were living with somebody. And so, you could be living with your family, your parents, and so you had to figure out, when can I have privacy to do this? Or, okay, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to schedule a trip to visit an uncle or aunt or somebody, okay, that I know they're not going to be watching me too closely, or I'm going to go to school, go to college, and I'm going to have my own privacy where I can do all these experiments, and then going to the market, or to the shop to buy the spiritual supplies in itself, that was exciting, because you're buying these candles and you're buying all these liquids, oh, you have to get some dragon's blood, okay, and you have to get this in parchment paper, and you have to, and sometimes the shop wouldn't have the supply, so you have to order it and then wait for it to come in, and then you have to go in and start recalculating again, trying to find out when is the best time, the optimal time to do this ritual. Those were the days. There was no Amazon back then. No Amazon back then. Okay. But it was fun. It was fun because some of us who are still in touch, some of us who are the old ones who are still in touch, now and then we reminisce, we're saying, yeah, do you remember back in the day, when we used to do this and we used to walk from here to there and then catch a ride over to the other place? And then do you remember the exercise of this or the spiritual principle of that? And then you tell stories about what happened. And some of the stories, are not real stories. People like to tell, it's like fisherman tales. Oh, I caught the biggest fish. And some of it is real. There's some like, yeah, I did this experiment and then this fantastic thing happened, sort of this sort of deal, Yeah, so, all right. So, no questions. All right. We're thankful to our creator, our guardian spirit, our ancestors, and our spirit guides for today's forbidden fruit. May it continue to yield plenteous fruit in our lives. Ashe, Ise, Kamabu, Dukozo, Lasedi, Makwande, Ayababo. Yanho, it is done, it is finished, it is complete. Amen. Obrigado. Ma'at. Amen. You're welcome, YM. Well, thank you. I'm going, of course, this is going to be posted on YouTube, the replay with the chat and everything. So you can watch the replay. And then tomorrow, Sunday, we're going to have our touching base, and we're just going to continue on the different kinds of Jesus egregores that are out there. Okay. It's such a pity that we can't save. I thought before TikTok would save lives like this. And then I think after a while they started doing away with it, saving the lives. So unfortunately, I have to redirect people to YouTube to go watch the replay. So take care, everybody. Have a good one. Let me go look for, I want a treat. I think I'm going to go have some tres leches, which I'm not supposed to have, but I'm going to go have some tres leches. I want some excitement. Love you all.